Welcome back, and if you're just joining us, it's still the press reaching you live from the nation's capital, and you're not late because you're right on time. Earlier we read the newspaper headlines, and now it's time for the analysis, and we have in the studio our guest already. He is no other person, Comrade Omotoso, an ICT professional, human rights activist, public affairs analyst, and a member of the National Association of Public Affairs Analysts. Good morning, Mr. Omotoso.
Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Yeah. Good morning, thanks for having me.
And this is also a reminder that our phone lines will be on for you to call and join in on the conversations. All right, Mr. Omotoso, we've seen what has been happening since the president was sworn in at the inauguration on Monday. And it has kind of, especially when it comes to the first subsidy removal. What do you make of this?
Well, this is a climb. We've been here for quite some time, so we should have gotten to a point where we understand ourselves. Anytime we have a situation like this, what we are experiencing now is not unexpected. It's something that we should be expecting. At a time there's a change in policy, or government is trying to take a step or whatever, or a measure, Nigerians will always find a way to say, okay, let's see how I can make a benefit from it. And that's exactly what we're seeing now. But I think, in all honesty, as a Nigerian and as somebody that look at what happens around me and around our country, I think the president should have tarried a little before making the kind of announcement that he made. Now, knowing fully well that it's going to spark some kind of panic rush to get these products stock somewhere. The lives of most Nigerians depends on this. On petroleum products. Now, when you announce that there is going to be a change in the pricing, of course, a lot of people want to go out there to get something out at the current price to see, so that by the time the prices is raised, the price goes up, they are not affected. So that's exactly what we are saying. But I think the reason why I said the president should have tarried a little is put some measures in place. There is nothing you can do to stop panic buying. It has become the norms in our society. Yeah. You cannot stop it. But at least you can put some measures in place. Probably maybe a week or so, do some kind of sensitization, and then let people know that even if we are removing subsidy now, it's not going to affect the price on the streets. It's not going to affect the price at which marketers get it. Now, the marketers don't even care now whether it's going to affect them or not. They just want to maximize profit. What they have stock, they have products, but they are not going to sell. Some of them will tell you, look, we are not too sure how much we're going to get the next stock if we expend what we have here. So, and if government had come out to give some kind of assurance, maybe this will have been, it will have reduced the kind of impact and effect we are getting.
So it is safe. Okay, so it is. I used to try to say that it is safe for the marketers, because perhaps based on what you said, that they are not sure how much it is going to be sold. So that's why they are holding, so that they can.
But this is also to remind us that he didn't say that fuel subsidy has been removed. He said it will be removed, but it hasn't. So now we're seeing all of this panic buying, and like you said, he should have given it a week or so. It will still stop the effect of panic, or to not prevent people from panic buying. So don't you think this is a situation of, let me just say this and get it done, so that people would know what to expect in the future? He hasn't said that subsidy has been removed, but he said it will be, and he did say it's immediate.
Yeah, you see, a lot of people, don't forget that this thing had been in the public space for some time. The outgone administration had been talking about it, that subsidy will be removed. And I could remember a few days before inauguration of this new administration, the minister, Raji Fashola, did came out to say that the subsidy had been removed. And don't forget that the outgone administration told us also times without number, too numerous for me to count, to recall, that subsidy had been removed. Now, sometimes a lot of lexicon come into it. Sometimes, I think NMPC sometimes told us that under something recovery or whatever, they christen it differently and all that. Now, this, the president coming out now to say, look, this thing, yes, it is for the good of Nigeria if the subsidy is removed. Yes. Because when you look at it critically, you discover that even the subsidy that we are paying, we are not even getting anything for it. And it's from the time we began to pay subsidies that are internal, are local consumption, rose. I mean, to the kind of height, to the quantum that was, I mean, that had become very, very difficult for us to be able to meet locally. So the money is not really, I mean, going to where it should go. So why don't we just remove it? And what the president said is that this subsidy, instead of we giving it out and then it lands in the pockets, in the wallets of few Nigerians, we're going to use it for something more meaningful. And of course, that statement alone had caused a lot of positive changes and impact. The stock market, foreign exchange, the naira is now boasting. Yes. So a lot of things like that. But there are some people that always want to circumvent situation to make sure that I mean it benefits them rather than thinking about the generality of the citizen.
But so that's no longer a government problem. That now brings us to we, the Nigerian people's problem.
Yeah. Now, and if you talk about yeah, it's not being we would say that it's not a problem of the government. But don't forget, those in government are also Nigerians. The potentialities and what any Nigeria can do, those in government will also do. And just vice versa, because we are the same blood run in all of us. So it's the same thing. But what I'm saying is that the president should have probably filled the pulse of the nation at a time like this.
Well, it's quite surprising because even we as journalists were told to perhaps keep our information and filter informations that might perhaps cause panic out there and chaos. But then surprisingly, the president, who should have kind of sensitize or kind of cushion his words, or because he is a major person out there, so perhaps maybe he should have filtered. Do you think he has a lot of blame here? Because there are a lot of things going out there presently. Yesterday we had a caller said perhaps we are not even outside because we're in the studio, so we are not seeing what is happening. Fuel is being sold for 1,000 naira in some states, and some are not even seeing fuel to buy presently.
You see, the only thing I have against the situation we're in now is that as a person, as an analyst looking at the impact or the kind of effect and the reactionary that we have been getting from going history from such announcements. Now, I expect the president, who had been at the corridor of power for a very long time, to really know and to have understood that Nigerians, once an announcement like this is made, now I expect him to be able to proactively look into the possibility of people trying to circumvent and then trying to create some kind of unrest in terms of panic around the country. So for him to have probably tarried a little before saying it, but now we won't blame him. He is an administrator, and we have seen what he has done in the past, and then looking at his potentials, we want to see, I mean, I want to believe that he has his reason for doing that, but as a man that is not in power, a man that is not in government, as a man that had watched and had studied what had been happening around us in Nigeria, I think he shouldn't have gone that bad the way he has done.
Okay, so how should he have gone about it? What would you think would have been the best way to go about it? Because we all know that even if he made this announcement in the next 2 months, it's still going to turn out the way it did right now. So what do you suggest would have been a better way to go about it?
As a politician, him being a politician, I expect him to look at to test the pulse of the nation and say, okay, because I'm just coming in, I don't want to do a thing that will set the people against me, that will give them a negative impression about what to expect about my administration. Because a lot of people, are now riding on this to say, look, what has happened now is a test. Is a pointer to the kind of things that we will witness in this administration. Now, removing it now, whether they remove it now or he remove it next year or whatever, the ultimate is that this thing had to be removed. Now, if he removes it now that he had made the announcement, I think what he needs to the next approach now is to look at what kind of cushion and then what are the palliative that can be given. Now, the palliative doesn't really need to be have to be about giving money to people or whatever. In the past, during the time of late General Abacha, when we were having issues and problems like this, and then petroleum marketers stopped, they stopped bringing fuels and then selling to the people. Government decided to bring out, to buy tankers. And then that was what led to the creation of this mega NNPC mega stations that we have. And the government was pushing out fuel, and people were getting it from there. Now, it got to a point that the other marketers were forced because they know they are getting out of business. So, and then they opened their doors for people to come and buy. So I want to see, we still have these stations there. All of these mega stations, we have more now than we had then. Government can, for the next 2-3 weeks, government can push these products to government-owned stations, and then throw the doors, the gates open for people to buy at control price. Then when that starts, after 1 week, of course, the marketers, the independent marketers will get the point. They will get the message, and they will throw their doors open. It's not as if what they are going to buy, the product they are going to buy next day, tomorrow, will be at a different price from the one they have gotten it. Because it's not an instant thing. It's not a thing that is starting immediately. So, but they just want to say, look, this is an opportunity for us to make our cuts too. And that's the reason why they are doing that. But government can bring them back by providing alternative sources for people to get fuel.
All right, let's take this call and we'll continue our conversation. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us on the press. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Good morning.
You're live on the press. Okay. That's me.
All right, please, when you do call us, please try to turn off the volume of your TV set so that we can hear you and you can hear us better.
Okay, so you spoke about government perhaps bringing in palliative measures. But do you think, looking at the antecedent, because this government is new, it's just going by its 100 days in office, do you think this government would have the administrative will to bring in palliative measures, administrative will to bring in palliative measures that will cushion the effect of this fuel subsidy removal on Nigerians? Because it is going to be very hard on Nigerians buying fuel, which used to be sold formerly for a lesser price, but now will be sold perhaps 600 naira, 500 naira, 400 naira, depending.
Well, if I want to go by the antecedents of the president, and if I want to go by his character, I see him more like a Democrat than the cream of politicians. That's cream of most of the politicians that we have on the street there. Now, he is more people inclined in his thought and all that. So I want to believe that him being part of the past administration and having gone through, all around the country to campaign and having the feeling of the people about the last administration, I want to believe that it will want to make a difference now. Now, and there is nothing that is difficult for government to achieve if the will is there. But I want to believe that as a Democrat, he will want to back up the will. He knows that is not totally accepted by the people. And as a Democrat, this is a time that is coming in like this. This is the time for him to sell himself to the people. And these are the kind of things that will help him and assist him in the entrenching his love into the heart of the people by touching them. Because this is one thing that touches everybody. Even if you don't run generator or whatever, you travel from one place to another. If there is no fuel, the transporters will increase their fare. And so it will affect you. So it affects everybody. So if this is addressed, I am sure, backed up with will, with governmental will, this thing can be resolved within 1 week. I want to believe he will do that.
All right. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning to you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great as usual.
Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, in continuation with yesterday's topic, the subsidy. This is Mr. Akim anyway. Okay, one thing I just want to, the first thing is, whether man or whatever you call them, the marketers. I want to say, Mr. President's statement, I don't think has any issue in the sense that he's just trying to prepare people's mind ahead of what will happen. Then whether he said it at that moment or he doesn't say it at that moment, it will still happen. That's one thing said. Then those ones took advantage. And it's even criminal. I even expect even the government itself to take action over some that must have been at least arrested or whatever, at least to serve as an example. That's one thing said. Then issue of cushioning the pain of removing the subsidy. I think it is easy, just like your analyst said, educating the Nigerians. Number one, Mr. President just has to close his eyes. Number one, if the subsidy is removed, and let Nigeria know that, okay, this subsidy that I removed, the money we are paying to support it, we are going to divert this into education. This is how we are going to use the education.
Oh.
Or 200,000 naira that we are shouting about. Because, see, Nigeria just have to be ready. If we want to actually remove subsidy, and which we have to, if we don't do it, we are at the gate of whatever now. So it has to be removed, and no any other subsidy. Even if it's 400 naira, as long as they can challenge the money we are just wasting into education, subsidized education, even agriculture, subsidized agriculture, as far as I'm concerned, he has done the best. And the fact I keep on saying it, he has to tighten up his bed. I know he can do it, but at the same time, those that are at the corner there waiting for his downfall are there. So he has to close his eyes. Even if there's a very close person to him. So administering Nigeria is not an easy task. So he just has to close his eyes. Removal of subsidy, whether we like it or not, it has to happen. Sorry, lastly, the chairman of Labour, the president of Labour, I can understand with him, but he too should understand with Nigeria, because we cannot continue subsidizing the rich people in this country, and we don't even understand the kind of president of Labour we have. Are they really fighting for the Labour? This thing must be removed because they are subsidizing the rich, not the poor. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much for joining us on the program, Mr. Akin. All right, with what he just said, the last statement he just made, where the president of Labour is saying that the president should come and consult stakeholders before making such decisions. And like our caller also said, he thinks that this is a situation whereby the president has to stand firm on his ground and say, this is what we want to do and this is how it should be done. So all of these consultations that Labour is asking for, you have to come and consult with stakeholders, consult with marketers. Do you think it's necessary?
Well,
to make such tough decisions?
If Labour will be sincere, I think we've done enough of consultation. issues and talks about subsidy had been there for a very long time. 2012, January 2012, if I'm not mistaken, the then president, Goodluck Jonathan, announced the removal of subsidy, and the streets went on fire. Now, the talk about removal of this subsidy had been even before that time. Now, at the advent of the outgone administration, the issue of subsidy were discussed. The president said at that time that subsidy was a scam. Now, between the time that they decided to say, okay, let's get done with this subsidy, that administration set up a committee, I think headed by maybe El-Rufai or somebody. They had parleys with labor and stakeholders, and a report were presented. Now, a lot of other meetings and committees have met on this, including laborers and all of the stakeholders we are talking about. So, for how long will the consultation continue? I think if labor is talking about consultation now, they should refer to all the ones that have been done. Bring all the reports together, do some kind of harmonization, and then come up with a paper the government can work with. If we continue to say it is consultation, then this thing will never be done.
Okay. So, all right, one of the reasons for the outcry by many Nigerians is the fact of lack of trust on our governance system and government itself, because during the money crunch, the issues we had with the money policy, Naira crunch during the December period, during the February-March period recently, and even that started from December period, we saw what happened with the Naira policy, which was set to perhaps cushion the effects of vote buying, election malpractices and the likes. But then we still saw sort of violence and still the same election, the vote buying, but in another dimension entirely. So that is to say that the reason for the money crunch policy in itself did not work. So how then would Tinubu bring back the trust back to the people to ascertain really that what the money, the subsidy being removed will be used for, which he said it will be used for education and others, would really be done?
You see, I don't pity the president at all, and I don't envy him. He has a lot. He has a lot of work to do, and part of this is he had to deal with hatred. He had to deal with distrust. I mean, it has to deal with so many things, and which were not orchestrated or, I mean, really directly involved from him, or maybe his own making, but because they belong to the last administration. Before that administration expires, Nigerian had grown to a level that when government says A, Nigerians don't want to believe it. When the government come out to say the day has broken, is money, people don't want to believe until they have seen the sun.
Yeah.
So a new president coming in now must have to deal with this, must have to live by this, because it will take some time for the trust to build up again. So, and for him to be able to do that, he has to embark on a program that points or that drives towards healing the hurt and the bruises that the citizens had suffered from the last administration. And in doing that, of course, he will have to endure the hatred, I mean, the distrust and the disbelief that people have. But when he begin to forge ahead and make things easy, and people begin to see that, yes, it's really coming up with policies that is affecting them positively, of course, that trust will begin to come again. So for people to say that we are not sure that the money from the subsidy will be appropriated rightly or according to his promise. Now, you cannot blame anybody. I mean, everybody has what we have seen had shown to us that the governments that we have having have not been sincere with the people. So it is him now that will now say, look, my own administration will be different. I will be a departure from what we used to know. And then he still makes sure that the people see him doing what he promised to do. When that is done, of course, people will love him.
All right, and we also hope that Nigerians are patient enough with the new president, and let's see how things turn out in Nigeria, and we hope it turns out for good. Yeah. Now, away from the issue of subsidy, there's something that drew our attentions this morning on our national daily, and we just want to maybe create more awareness and talk about this, and that is the issue of rape and the filing of children, underage children. I think we came across like 4 headlines on our national daily this morning. Father jailed, life imprisonment for defiling 8-year-old daughter. Then court remands man for defiling 13-year-old girl. There's another one, a man rapes 12-year-old hawker in an uncompleted building in Ondo State. There are lots of such headlines on our national dailies this morning, and for me, I think it's becoming more occurrent, and nobody is talking enough about such menace in the society. How did we get here?
Well, there are 2 angles to it.
Okay.
The first is that it's all of these things are quite un-African. In Africa, we have a value system that look at some of these criminal activities as something that is detestable. Now, unfortunately, we are departing from that. In the past, because what they are doing, when you talk about rape, it could be equated with stealing. Because that is taking what does not belong to you. So in Africa, when you do that, sometimes you get you get a kind of tag that nobody around you want to deal with you, want to have anything to do with you at all, simply because you have been declared a thief. Now, the other angle is the world is we are in a digital age now. Awareness is wider and higher now than in the past. In the past, when an individual is raped, she doesn't want to talk about it. She'll prefer to live by that shame and not get herself exposed to people, so that people will not even know.
Judge her, yeah.
But these days, awareness is higher. Now they are getting to know that you just forget about the shame, forget about whatever reaction that people will have towards you. But when you come out to talk about it, you'll be saving other people. You'll be saving many others, because when you come out to speak about it, authorities will come together to come up with a kind of policy that will protect the vulnerable. Yeah. If you don't talk about it, now of course government will not know. Now we have committees and we have NGOs that is handling situations like this now, simply because awareness is higher and people are getting to know.
So what you're trying to say is it's not occurring more in the national dailies because it's happening more. It has been happening like this ever since. It's just that people are getting to tell their stories, and that's why we see more of it in the national dailies.
Exactly.
But how do we now curtail this menace? Because I think it's very disgusting to talk about it. I'm going to talk about this particular headline. Father jails for raping his own 8-year-old child. I can never wrap my head around this particular headline. Like, I can't.
I want to believe that it's more of a greed and this quest for emergency wealth than for other things. Now, because I once argued with a set of people in a workshop where these things were discussed, and I said, they say it's for power, or for what? For what power? Your own child. I am a Christian. The Bible that I carry, abhors it. Now, the Bible even said that somebody, you cannot even get married to siblings from your wife. Not even talking about your own blood. So when you look at that, and we see Christians, we see Muslims doing all of this, and that got me thinking, because you discover that traditionalists, those who do not carry any of the two major books that we talk about, they won't do it. They don't do it. We see more of us, those of us who have embraced this foreign religion that is alien to our culture, doing that. So, and then it's not as if when you get to church, they will preach that to you. It's not as if when you get to church, they will tell you can go and rape and things like that. But we do contrary. Yes, I want to believe also that maybe civilization and things like that, I can do whatever and this and all that. But all of these things needs to be really concerted effort must be made by government to do that.
Okay, talking about concerted efforts made by government, I understand that there's of course the Violence Against Person Prohibition Act, but with this I also understand that there's not tip on ground. Like you said, there are NGOs that are talking about this, but do you think that enough is being done by the legislative arm of government to bring in laws that kind of curtail this menace?
Before you take that, we'll have to take this call. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Sandra.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us on the press.
How was your night?
Very well, thank you. How was yours?
I called for long, but nobody speaks.
So sorry.
You put me think, maybe you put me think I take you for back. Not much like that. But this issue of fuel subsidy removal and not removal. In fact, all those people, I don't know how they even put Nigeria. Let me put it that way. Our current president is the national chairman of APC. And APC ruled for 8 years. He know that no removal of this is why not former President Muhammad Buhari to do so. I don't know why. If you look at 2015, as Buhari came in seat, he condemned border. Nigeria controls sovereign. He will vote. He will vote. You push a side patient for me, 8 years have gone. You know who coming on now? Fuel. Go to the street, see how much is suffering. Transportation life. Even poor man in the north cannot go home. I'm calling you from Katsina. If you come Katsina now, see the queue of fuel. Even you make it say we're there for a lockdown. All road silent.
All right.
Is it how they are going to do us for this country? Why they no get agenda like PDP?
They do have an agenda. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Fortune. I'm calling you from.
I think we lost that call also. Please go ahead.
Yeah, you see, laws are not supposed to. Laws are come up with consequences. That when you do this, this is going to be. This is what you face. This is the punishment and all that. But I don't believe that this thing had to be about law. It has to be about prevention. And but
I feel when laws are made, that's when you do this, there are consequences. It will serve as deterrents to others who would want to perpetrate it. Because most times when these rape victims are taken to the police station or whatever, they get released. To some extent, they take them for rehabilitation, and we still don't get to see the effects of those custody they were being placed, because the menace keep increasing. Like she said, there are so many of these cases on the dailies. Yes,
I believe in a different approach. You see, and that approach should be changing the orientation of the people. Now, I think take for instance when we're talking about sensors and awareness was out there, and many people are already getting to know about it before it was postponed. Now, we used to have national orientation agency. Yeah. Now, that is a very, very critical organization and arm of government, parastatal of government, that should be doing most of these things that we are talking about. Now, the media stations like your station here has a lot to do. You have a lot to do to the people. You are doing the best you can. But these national orientation agencies, in the past, will go to the street. They will organize seminars. They will organize workshops. They will go to the remote areas and talk to people about all of this. I think that prostata there is need for it to be reinvented. To be revived, and then give it the assignment to really do what it's set up to do. Now, when that is done, when you talk to people on the streets and all that, now you will reduce the rate. When the rate is reduced, it is a national orientation agency that will tell, don't do this. It is not good. It is unholy. But if you do it, this is what the law says. Now, when people get to know that, and they know that there are consequences, of course, that will deter them from wanting to go there. You see, the heart of man is always, people might just feel that it's fun. I want to have fun and things like that. But when you know that when you have that fun, for just 10 minutes, you could go to jail for 10 years. Yes. Now, of course, they want to weigh whether, what should I do? Should I go into it or just sit down and avoid going to jail? So when the people get to know, and then it's ringing, when it's ringing in their consciousness that things like this, when you do it, this is going to be the consequences. I'm very, very sure it's going to reduce.
All right. Thank you so much for your contributions on that matter. We hope people take notice, and actually, like I said earlier, mothers, please look after your children, and no means no. Please, I don't know how best we could talk about these issues of rape, but we need to put an end to it. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thanks for having me.
It's been amazing talking to you.
Thank you.
And like I promised, I said I was going to bring you details for the universal short code that has been released by NCC. And this story says, in March, the NCC approved and released harmonized short codes for certain mobile operation in the country. The commission stated that this was aimed at achieving uniformity in common short codes across network, allowing the code, for instance, to become the same across all mobile network. That is to say, all networks now use the same short code. It also gave the mobile providers a deadline of May 17, 2023 to fully migrate to the harmonized code. It explained that while the old and new harmonized code could run concurrently up to May 17th, all networks are expected to have fully migrated to the new short code by that date. And this short code includes 300 to be used for harmonized short code for call center, that's to call customer care, 301 for voicemail, 302 voice mail retriever, 303 to borrow services, 305 to stop service, 310 to check your balance. So if you've been trying 556 and 123, now the new code is 310 to check your balance, and 311 to recharge your phone. Also, we have for data plan 312, 321 to share services, 323 for data plan balance, and 996 for verification of subscriber identity, that's your SIM card or NIN and SIM linkage. So I think that's that. We're going to leave that on the screen so that you get accustomed to it. You can take a picture so that you get used to the new short code, so that you will not be feeling stressed while you try your old codes and that's not working. And I think that,
well, I feel like that's a new development, and it's a good development.
Yes, actually, so that people, you don't have to stress yourself so much when you have so many or multiple SIM cards. Just know that the same code now works for all your SIM cards, and if you want to check your data or you want to buy data and all of that, one code works for all SIM cards and all networks. And I think that's where we draw the curtain today on The Press, coming to you live from the Abuja studios of KAFTAN Television. Till we'll come your way tomorrow with more information. I am Sandra Ago.
And I am Victoria Agbi. Do have a splendid day ahead. Bye for now.